At some point every evening they disappear. One moment the city is full of them. On the station steps, outside the cafe, along the wall where you always see them at lunchtime, picking through the pavement with that unhurried, bobbing walk. And then, in the space of about 20 minutes, they are gone. The ledges are empty. The steps are clear. The street that was full of them an hour ago looks like a different place entirely. Where did they go? Most people assume the pigeons are simply somewhere else in the city, flying around, roosting vaguely on rooftops, doing whatever pigeons do when humans stop watching. But the reality is far more specific, far more deliberate, and far stranger than most people realize. What happens to your city pigeons between dusk and dawn is one of the least observed and most extraordinary parts of their lives. Tonight, while you are asleep, the pigeons on your street will do things that would stop you mid-breath if you could see them. Some of them will squeeze into spaces so small you would not believe a single bird could fit, let alone a dozen. Some of them will sleep with one eye literally open, monitoring the city while the other half of their brain rests. Some of them, the ones you see every single morning on your commute, will not be there at all. Welcome to the Backyard Bird Peek. Subscribe before you leave, because what you are about to learn happens every single night on your street, completely invisible to you, and it will change the way you think about every pigeon you see every morning. Tonight, we are going into the dark, into what your city pigeons actually do when the light leaves the streets. Stay until the end, because the last thing we cover happens directly above your city on certain nights each spring and fall, and the scale of it is something most people never fully grasp. Number 1. Where your pigeons actually go when the sun sets. The answer is not where most people imagine, and it is far more specific than you would expect. To understand where a pigeon goes at night, you have to understand what a pigeon actually is. The city pigeon, the one you walk past every day, is not a city animal by nature. It is a rock dove. Its ancestors lived on sea cliffs and coastal rock faces in Europe and North Africa, nesting in crevices, roosting on narrow ledges, sheltering in the gaps and overhangs of stone formations that the ocean had carved over millions of years. When pigeons moved into cities, they did not change. They looked at the city and saw exactly what they had always lived in. A skyscraper is a cliff. A bridge is a rock formation. An ornate Victorian building with its ledges and recesses and carved stonework is, to a pigeon's brain, indistinguishable from the coastal cliffs its species has been sleeping on for millions of years. So, when the sun goes down, your city pigeon does not wander. It goes home. And home is specific. Bridge girders, the underside, where steel meets concrete, protected from wind and rain and invisible from below. The deep ledges of old stone buildings, the ones with ornate carvings that create small sheltered recesses, just wide enough for a bird to press into. The housing around rooftop air conditioning units, which are warm, sheltered, and largely undisturbed. Abandoned upper floors of old buildings, where broken windows create entry points into spaces that have been pigeon roosts for decades. And here is the part most people never think about. That pigeon has a specific address. It goes to the same spot every single night. Not vaguely to the same building, to the same ledge, the same girder, the same recess in the same wall. If you found that spot and watched it at dusk for a week, you would see the same birds returning to exactly the same positions every evening. You have walked past their front door hundreds of times without knowing it was there. Number 2, the communal roost, when city pigeons pack together to survive. The city pigeon during the day holds territory. It competes for food, defends its space, pushes other birds away from the best feeding spots. But at night, something changes entirely. On cold nights, pigeons roost communally, not loosely, tightly, pressed against each other, body to body, along a ledge or inside a sheltered recess, sharing heat in a way that their daytime territorial behavior would make seem impossible. Researchers monitoring urban pigeon roosts have documented groups of 30 to 50 birds packed onto a single ledge that, in daylight hours, would have been fiercely contested space. Birds that were competing for food at noon are sharing body heat at midnight. On a cold winter night in a city, shared body heat can mean the difference between a bird that survives until morning and one that does not. But the communal roost is not just about warmth. It is also a defense system. The birds position themselves deliberately. The outer birds, the ones on the edges of the group, most exposed to the open air, are the lightest sleepers. They are the ones monitoring. The birds in the center of the group sleep more deeply, protected by the bodies around them. The vigilance is distributed. The group functions as a single sensing organism. If you have ever noticed a group of pigeons suddenly launching from a ledge at night, all of them simultaneously, for no apparent reason, that is what you were seeing. One bird on the outer edge detected something. The signal passed through the group in a fraction of a second, and they were gone before whatever triggered the alarm had even fully registered. Number 3. How pigeons navigate the dark and what they're actually listening for. A sleeping pigeon is not switched off. It is operating in a mode that most people never think about, a half-awake state of continuous environmental monitoring that researchers call unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. One hemisphere of the brain enters a sleep state while the other remains active and alert, the open eye scanning the environment for threats. The sleeping and waking hemispheres switch periodically, so both sides get rest. But the pigeon is never completely unconscious in the way a sleeping human is. Cornell Lab of Ornithology researchers studying mallard ducks first documented this clearly. Ducks sleeping in a row at the edge of the group kept the outward-facing eye open, monitoring the environment, while ducks in the center of the group slept with both eyes closed. The vigilance was distributed across the flock. The same principle applies to the pigeons on your street. When a pigeon is roosting on a bridge girder on a winter night, it is not fully asleep. The footsteps on the pavement below, the headlights of a passing car, the sound of a peregrine falcon hunting the city at night, which happens far more often than most people realize, all of these can trigger immediate alertness and flight in complete darkness. This is why the sounds of your city at night are not just background noise to a pigeon. The alarm call of one bird on a distant ledge travels to every roosting pigeon within range. The nighttime city has a sensory network running through it, even when it looks completely still. There is something worth sitting with in that. The street you look at through your window, at midnight, dark, still, apparently empty, is not empty at all. It is full of pigeons in a state of active, distributed awareness, hidden in ledges and girders and sheltered recesses, monitoring the dark with one eye while the other hemisphere of the brain recovers, ready to move in a fraction of a second if something changes. They are there. You simply cannot see them, and they are paying far more attention to the night than you are. Number 4. The version of your city that pigeons experience at night and why it is nothing like what you see. Most people think of pigeons as entirely daytime creatures, but the city at night is not quiet to a pigeon. Pigeons detect infrasound, sound frequencies far below the range of human hearing, the low-frequency hum of the city, the vibrations of underground trains, the atmospheric pressure changes that precede a storm. All of these are audible to a pigeon in ways that no human can directly experience. Research has shown that pigeons can detect a storm system hours before it arrives, responding to the infrasound signature of the weather front, long before any visual or temperature cues are available. On the night before a major storm, your city pigeons already know. They have already adjusted their roost positions, pressed deeper into sheltered spaces, packed more tightly together. While you check the weather app on your phone, they have been reading the atmosphere directly for hours. And then There is artificial light. The city at night is not dark to a pigeon. Pigeons are highly sensitive to light levels, and the illuminated streetscape of a modern city, the orange glow of street lamps, the white light of shop fronts, the constant ambient brightness of an urban environment, keeps them in a state of partial alertness that birds in the countryside never experience. Pigeon on the ledge above the brightly lit street is sleeping differently than the pigeon tucked into the dark underside of the bridge 100 meters away. The city you move through every day has a completely different existence at night, and your pigeons are awake for all of it. Number 5. And this is the part that changes the way you think about the night sky above your city. Twice a year, the sky above urban areas fills with birds in numbers that are genuinely difficult to comprehend. Not dozens. On peak migration nights in late April and early May, and again in September and October, the number of birds passing over a single city in a single night can reach into the millions. Birdcast, Cornell Lab's free migration monitoring system, tracks this in real time using weather radar. On a peak migration night, the radar image of a major city shows what looks like an enormous atmospheric event emanating outward across the surrounding landscape. Not rain, not clouds, birds. The biological mass of a single night's migration over a large city is large enough to return radar signals that meteorologists took years to learn to distinguish from weather systems. This is happening above your city tonight and on many nights this spring. The pigeons that will spend their summer on your street, on the station steps, outside your cafe, some of them are passing over you right now in darkness, navigating by light they can see that you cannot, following paths their ancestors have traveled for longer than your city has existed. The street goes quiet at dusk, the steps empty, the ledges clear. But what you are looking at when you see that empty street is not absence. The pigeon that was on the station steps this morning is on the bridge girder 3 streets away, pressed against 11 other birds, one eye open, monitoring the city. The pair that sat outside the cafe at lunchtime are in the recess behind the carved stonework of the old building on the corner. The same spot they have slept in every night this winter, somewhere above your roofline. On certain nights, birds you will see on your commute next week are passing through in their thousands. This happens every night. You have been walking past it for years without knowing the full shape of it. Now you know. And the next time your street goes quiet at dusk, the next time the steps are empty and the ledges are clear, you will know that the pigeons have not gone anywhere. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed where the pigeons on your street actually go at night? Have you ever looked up at a bridge or an old building and wondered what was hidden inside it? I want to hear about it. I read every comment. I will see you in the next one.